Okay, this is a simple tutorial. I'm just going to show you how to do two alternative ways of making a rollover. Now, previously to CSS control, we had one way of doing a image rollover, and that was via Dreamweaver's JavaScript, or some Dreamweaver's, but basically some JavaScript that Dreamweaver incorporated into its mechanism to allow you to do a rollover image. This is basically achieved from the Commons menu. I'm going to show you this. I've set up a quick HTML document. I put rollover 1 and 2. Just made a div so it basically floats in the center. What I'm going to do is add a rollover the old-fashioned way, this way. Okay, I'm going to tell you why it's old-fashioned in a minute. But the way you find it is through Common. If you scroll down, you notice if I hold down there it says rollover image. What you basically do is let go. Before I do anything, actually I'll have to show you because I haven't saved them yet. These are the images I've created. I've just made two squares basically just to show you the interaction. I haven't actually saved those yet, so I'm going to save them out. Save for web. Just make it a JPEG. Okay, desktop. I'll just sort into make a new folder called images, as I always do. Right, I'm just going to call this 1. Okay, and then the other one, I'm going to say for web, call it 2. Okay, so we've got two different JPEGs there. Okay, so when we go back to Dreamweaver, we'll call it whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it rollover. Okay, what you need to do then is to find the actual original image that you want to keep there. When the page opens, which is the blue one, see? Then you need to define the one you want it to change to when you roll over it. Also, you'll notice this little button there, preload rollover image. Now this is the issue. What it does is it forces a little bit of JavaScripting to appear in the body section to preload the images. Saying that, when you do preload the images and you have a big HTML, you'll tend to find even when you roll over it, it takes a little bit of time to actually interact, and it seems like it hasn't already uploaded the image. Now that can create an issue, okay? Especially if you've got lots of images that need rollovers and you have to wait until you roll over it for maybe a second before it actually appears. Okay, but I'm going to carry on doing this. So I'm going to call it rollover menu, let's say. Okay, don't worry about this. This is only an example. Okay, so I do that and you'll notice what happens is it puts in an image. Okay, what also it does, as you notice, is it puts off over a lot of extra JavaScripting inside the href. Okay, as I said before, it's done the onload preload images, and you'll notice at the top it's actually put a lot of JavaScripting in to allow it to basically roll over and change this image. You'll notice it has MM, and that stands for Macromedia. This is something that was in the Macromedia version of Dreamweaver before Adobe took it over. Okay, that's why MM stands for. You can find this function on other websites, and it's not from Macromedia. But what I want to do is quickly show you how this works. Save that. Let's just have a quick look at it in Safari. Shouldn't take that long to load. Okay, so it's loaded. What happens basically is when I roll over it, it changes the image, you see. Okay, that's basically the function of that script. It basically does this, and you can have a menu set up or whatever, or just images set up. So that's one way of doing it. Okay, I'm just going to hide that. What I'm going to do now, there's an extra div I put here. I'm going to show you the second way of doing it, and you'll notice, hopefully, This is using CSS, not CSS3, it's actually CSS2. But you'll notice it takes up less code than before, and obviously that makes everything more optimized and effective. Okay, the wonders of CSS. So anyway, what you have is ID rollover 2. That's just a div I've made. It's going to appear underneath this one. Okay, I'll go back to Photoshop. I made a third document. What you noticed here is I've included both of the colours, squares, in one document. Okay, so if we say for web, JPEG again, I'm going to call this one number 3. So I can quit Photoshop now, don't need those. Save. Right. Now what you need to do here is simply place in my picture, not a rollover image, just an image. Choose number 3. Like so. Call it something else. Rollover 2. Like so. Like that. What you'll notice, this happens with every image that you put into a div, it automatically resizes the div to the shape of the actual picture. Okay, so how can you make this so it works as a rollover image, a little bit like this one? Right, several things you have to do. We'll have to go to obviously our CSS file to do this. So I'm going to swap over. I'm going to, I can't remember what it's called, roll 2. Okay. So I'm going to make a new thing called roll 2 expression. Just close it because that's what I tend to like to do. Now, if I basically put a width in, which is half of that size, it comes out at what, 150 pixels. So you'll notice it doesn't do anything. It seems like it hasn't done anything. What it has done actually, I don't know whether I can even show you if I select it. No, it's not made the actual div the size of the actual image, which is not a problem. If I select, there you go. If I select roll 2, which is what we just created, it is actually half the size of the image, but the image is forcing itself outside the box, which we don't want. Basically because we want to only see one part of the image. Okay, so what you can do to make this work a little bit better is to add a different function, which is called overflow. Okay, and then choose hidden. Okay, what this does is it gets rid of the part of the image that you can't see. Okay. For some reason it seems like it can see part of my, maybe that's just an error. What I'm going to do is quickly check that in Safari again, just to make sure. You can't see the green bit that you can see in Dreamweaver. Okay, go back to CSS. Now, how do we make this so it's actually rolling over? All right. I wonder if I can just put it in the center as well. Yeah, there you go. I just want to place it. It's just me being fussy. I just want to place it in the same place as the other one. Okay. Now what we need to do is just go back to the code. Obviously, you'll notice with the normal rollover, it activates via basically an href function, like we have to do with everything. So what I'm going to do is add href equals. Again, you don't need to have anything on there. What we do need to do is give it, say, for instance, a class. Say, for instance, this is a menu and you want to repeat it several times. Okay, what shall I call it? Image roll. So, and then just close it, and then just close the href. Oops. Like so. Alright, let's just check see if everything's okay. Href class roll. Okay. Okay, save that. What this does is it gives you an option now to do some extra coding based on the A tag. Okay. What we do is go back here. Okay. What we do is just literally put A dot because it's a class, and then what do we have to put? Image roll. Image. Roll. Okay. And now pseudo class, which is hover. Okay. Let's just close that down. Here, what we need to do is just to alter the margin. Remember the margin of the actual inside of the image, okay, because it's the A class we're talking about, not the actual div. So what we do is just put margin, and because it's 150 we need to change, you put in -150 pixels. Theoretically what you should do is put margin left or right depending on the horizontal if you're doing up and down, but this seems to work if you've actually made the size of your box correct. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Source code is saved. I'm going to go back to Safari, just refresh that so it's all in the right place. You notice that that one's doing a rollover. Yeah, I didn't do it properly. Did half of one. Right, see if we can adjust that then. -300. Let's see if that works. For some reason it's only doing half of a. Let's do it margin left 150. Let's see if that works. There you go. Okay, so what you're doing is you're effectively creating the same effect with a rollover using a lot less code. And the good thing about this is because this is, if I go back to Julie, because this is one image, it gets loaded as soon as the actual image gets loaded, whereas the other one above, this may have issues because literally it has to unload with the body and it may not upload it or put it into its cache in the correct way, and so you have to wait for it to hover over. Okay, so that's basically two ways to do a rollover. You'll notice there's that much code, okay, next to that much JavaScripting and that much HTML. I mean, basically that is taking up the same amount of information to do exactly the same as all that JavaScripting. Okay, which is quite effective really. Okay, so that's two ways of doing the same thing. One's more CSS friendly and efficient.